Santa Muerte teachings. Day 2. Death as a divine force created by God, spoken under the authority of God Almighty and witnessed by la Santísima Muerte. This is where belief becomes structure. What we speak here is not opinion, it is doctrine. If this is not understood, then everything that follows becomes unstable. On the first day, we established who la Santísima Muerte truly is. Today, we establish where death comes from and the order it exists within. Because death is not separate from God. Death is part of His creation. First hard truth. God created death, not as punishment, not as corruption, but as part of the order of existence. If God created all things, then nothing exists outside of Him. That includes life, and it includes death. Human beings have been taught to fear death as if it stands against God, but that is a misunderstanding. Death does not oppose life. Death completes life. Without death, nothing would renew. Without death, nothing would transform. Without death, creation would not move forward. Death is not chaos. Death is structure. And structure comes from the Creator. Second hard truth. There is a covenant between God and death. This is where people must listen carefully, because this is not folklore. This is understanding the order of creation. God created life, and within that creation, He established that life would have a measure, a beginning, and an end. Death exists as the force that fulfills that end. That is the covenant. Death does not take life randomly. Death fulfills what has already been written into existence. It does not act outside of God. It acts within what God has allowed. This is why death cannot be bribed. It cannot be delayed by ego. It cannot be avoided by power. Because it does not answer to humanity. It answers to the order of God established. Third hard truth. This is also a covenant between death and humanity. Every human being is born into it, whether they acknowledge it or not. From the moment a person takes their first breath, they are living within a measure of time. That measure is not infinite. It is defined. That is the covenant. Life is given. Time is given. And eventually that time is completed. Death does not break that agreement. Death fulfills it. This is why no one escapes it. Not because death is hunting people, because life itself was created with completion built into it. Fourth hard truth. Folklore has distorted this truth. Across cultures, people have created stories about death. Some say death can be tricked. Some say it can be delayed. Some say it can be bargained with. Some say offerings can control it. Some say rituals can override it. These stories come from fear and from the human desire to control what cannot be controlled. There is truth within some traditions, but there is also exaggeration and misunderstanding. Death is not controlled by human will. Death does not operate based on emotion. Death does not change its function based on fear. It fulfills what has already been set in motion by God. That is the difference between folklore and truth. Fifth hard truth. La Santísima Muerte stands within this covenant. She does not replace God. She does not override His will. She represents the force that carries out the completion of life within the order God created. That is why she is respected, because she does not act with bias. She does not act with preference. She does not act with emotion. She acts within the structure of existence, which means she can bring peace or endings, clarity or exposure, protection or removal, not because she chooses randomly, but because she reflects the balance that already exists within creation. Sixth truth. This covenant shapes human existence. Whether people accept it or not, their life is lived within these boundaries. They are given time. They are given choice. They are given opportunity. And eventually, they reach completion. Understanding this changes how a person lives. It removes the illusion of control. It removes the illusion of permanence. It forces a person to confront what is real. Time becomes valuable. Truth becomes important. Discipline becomes necessary. Because life is not endless. And what is done within it carries weight. Final truth. God is the creator of life. God is the creator of death. Death exists within his authority. La Santa Muerte represents the force of death within that creation. There is a covenant between God and death, between death and humanity, and even human life unfolds within that structure. Death does not break that covenant. It fulfills it. And in doing so, it reminds humanity of something most people try to avoid, that life is temporary. And because it is temporary, it must be lived with awareness.